Hello, welcome to your academy. At your academy, we have been dealing with the general prologue to the Canterbury Tales. We have been reading the text of the prologue or the general prologue. So far, we have dealt with quite a few characters from the general prologue. If you want to watch the lectures on the characters that we have already dealt with, beginning from the knight, squire, yeoman, nun, monk, friar, and others. So you can check out this link. It will take you to the playlist of Geoffrey Chaucer or the general prologue, and there you will have all those lectures. In today's lecture, we'll take up another character from the prologue who is a clerk from the Oxford, or who is a scholar. So he would be perhaps one of the characters, or the only character who would be a student or who would be a scholar, and he is described as the clerk from Oxford. Now this clerk should not be misunderstood or understood as someone who is employed. That is not the case with our character or this particular portrait that we would be taking up. Without any ado, without any delay, let's take up the text and find out how Geoffrey Chaucer presents to us the portrait of the clerk. Here is the text. A clerk from Oxford was with us also, who had turned to getting knowledge long ago. So he says that we were having also a clerk with us, and he was from Oxford. And one of the features, one of the characteristics that Geoffrey Chaucer describes at the very onset, at the very beginning, is that he had turned to the books or learning long ago, which means this particular character is a scholar. He is a student and he loves to study, he loves to read, and he has been reading for quite some time now. The long ago phrase would tell us that it has been a lifetime that this person, this character, this clerk from Oxford has been busy with studies, has been busy with books. As meagre was his horse as is a rake, nor he himself too fat, I'll undertake. He is, presenting this character slightly differently, because we found at most of the times that he would discuss the horses and other belongings towards the end. But when it comes to the clerk, perhaps he does not have too many things with him which perhaps Geoffrey Chaucer can look, observe, and tell us. So he, after telling us that who this clerk from Oxford was and what he used to do, and we were told that he was from Oxford and he turned to studies long ago, and then he comes to his horse, and we know that he is as meager as is a rake. Now meager means small, meager means weak. Now in this context it would mean weak, it would mean of low species. For example, the horse of the monk was called as palfrey, which means highly valued, or he was of a great species. But that is not the case with the scholar, with the clerk from the Oxford. His horse is as meager as rake. And not only this, he himself is not very fat. He is not like monk, he is not like friar, who have been very healthy, who love worldly things more than our scholar does. But he says that he himself was also very thin, he himself was also very weak, and I'll undertake, I can swear that he looked like this. So there cannot be any error in judgment in what I am saying. Now what we get from the portrait of the clerk, or from the very initial lines of the clerk, is that clerk is a scholar, he is a student, he is really a man of knowledge. Now since he is a man of knowledge, he loves books, so he must be wise. He is not only wise, perhaps he is morally very upright, so he is not a corrupt person. If he is not corrupt person, he does not look materially good, materially sound. He is not very healthy, he does not own a great steed, a great horse, but rather everything associated with him looks grim, looks not in the best of the shape. And then he says, but he looked hollow and went soberly. Now, if you take a look at this guy, who at the clerk from the Oxford, he looked hollow. Hollow would mean, person on whose face there is no flesh, who is but just like skeleton, bones are much visible on his body, but he went soberly, but he was very civilized. So sober, we usually associate this word with those who do not get carried away with wine, with drinking, who do not indulge in such activities, who love to have a very civilized, a very nice kind of living. So that is what this clerk from the Oxford was. So there are two juxtapositions, two opposites with our clerk. He is weak, he is poor, his horse is poor, he is hollow, but he is sober, he is civilized, he is wise, he is educated. He seems to be a man who is learned in real sense of the word. Right threadbare was his overcoat, for he had got him yet no churchly benefice, nor was so worldly to gain office. Right threadbare was his overcoat. Threadbare would be thin, torn, and a coat which has been used for a long time period. Now you just compare the clothes, the overcoat of the clerk from Oxford with that of friar, with that of monk, and with that of merchant. Now monk, merchant and friar, all of them were having good clothes. They were having, in fact, the best that could be found in England back in those days. But that is not the case with the clerk from the Oxford. His coat looks threadbare, and not only this, the reason why he was in such a poor shape was because up to this point of time he had no official appointment from the church, no benefice from the church. Now this word benefice means an appointment in the church, a position in the church. For that matter, church in the Chaucer's days was very influential, and a person who would get associated with church, because we have so far known that the church that is being presented by Chaucer to us is corrupt. So anyone who is associated with church, like there is monk, like there is friar, there would be Franklin, there would be nun, there would be other characters. So all of them are materially better off. But since this guy, the clerk from the Oxford, is not yet associated with church, so he looks in such a meager, in such a pathetic condition. Not only this, he further says that he was not clever enough to gain worldly office. Now he was not a corrupt person, he wasn't a shrewd person, he was not a clever person who can get even the worldly office. If he fails to get a benefit, an appointment in the church, he could earn his livelihood by making some wicked moves, by making some clever moves, or because he is a learned man, he is an educated man. But unfortunately he seems to be morally very upright. Perhaps too much of a sober is he, that his morals or his fundamentals, his principles do not allow him either to gain worldly office. For he would rather have at his bed's head some 20 books all bound in black and red. So what is the property of our clerk? He does not own gold, he does not own money, he does not own costly robes, costly dresses. What he owns? Books. So he has, Chaucer says, some 20 books he owns, all black and red. Now back in those, these books were written with the ink and that perhaps a pen made of the wood. So he is having some 20 books with him. Now these 20 books was a great number in Chaucer's time, because see, you are in the medieval times when English, when there is hardly a British writer who is writing. Geoffrey Chaucer is the first poet. So there won't be a lot many books in English market back in those days. Despite that, the number 20 would be staggering, would be huge. Despite the fact that not many people were writing in Chaucer's times, this clerk from Oxford owned owned 20 books, which would mean that you will have a personal library of 20,000 books in 2021, even perhaps more than 20,000. So he owned those many books, but he did not own any other things of Aristotle and his philosophy than rich robes, fiddle, or gay saltery. What he owned? He owned Aristotle and his philosophy. Now remember, Aristotle in the Chaucer's days was very famous, a philosopher in Europe. He was introduced to Europe only then. Thomas Aquinas was a famous scholar on Aristotle, who had introduced the writings of Aristotle in England, and which he brought from the writings of Ibn Rushd, who is also known as Averroes, or Ali ibn Sina, who is known as Avicenna, who were the philosophers from the Muslim Spain. It is those people who wrote, or who translated the works of Aristotle and Plato into the Arabic language, and it is these people, that is Averroes and Ibn Rushd and Ali ibn Sina, who called Aristotle the teacher. Even Dante refers to Aristotle as the teacher. He also got a lot of information or inspiration from Ibn Rushd and Ali ibn Sina regarding Aristotle. And the first European philosopher of Aristotle, or scholar of Aristotle, was Thomas Aquinas, and he called Aristotle philosopher. And during medieval times, during Chaucer's times, Aristotle was a very influential philosopher who was being studied at the initial stage in Europe. So he owned, our Clarke from Oxford owned the books of the philosophy of Aristotle. Besides Aristotle's philosophy, he had nothing. For example, he says he owned no rich robes, no fiddle, no gay saltery. Now, robes means clothes. He has no rich clothes. He has no costly clothes, as he has a threadbare overcoat. Fiddle means money. He has no money. He has no gold. And neither he owns any kind of gay saltery. This saltery was a musical instrument which was very much in fashion in Chaucer's days, particularly owned by the rich men. But Clarke from the Oxford is not rich. He owns nothing. The only thing he owns is some 20 books, which is a huge number, and most of those books are of Aristotle, and Aristotle at that time was the only philosopher, or the only writer who was called as philosopher. So he owns the books of the greatest philosopher that was very influential in Europe, in England, in Chaucer's times. So what we get, that this Clarke from Oxford is not an ordinary character. He is a man of knowledge. Yet, and for all he was philosopher, he had but little gold within his coffer. And yet he was a great philosopher. He was a he has to be a philosopher. He was a philosopher because he was reading the philosophy of Aristotle. So whosoever would read Aristotle in those days would end up to be a philosopher. And another thing that he was a philosopher was because he was not carrying too much of a gold in his coffer. Coffer would be a strong box, in which people in olden days would carry gold, because they weren't having money that we use in the contemporary times, those made of the paper. They would carry gold with them, and gold was a precious thing, so they had to carry a very strong box with them. That was called as coffer. So he had little gold with him in his coffer, but all that he might borrow from a friend on books and learning, he would swiftly spend. He had no savings, and if at any point of time some friend, some close acquaintance of his gave him anything, some gold, some money, he would immediately spend them on books, on buying the books. That is why he owned 20 books. Owning a book in Chaucer's days, as I said earlier, was a great deal, and owning 20 books was more than a great deal. And then he would pray right busily for the souls of those who gave him wherewithal for schools. And whenever he was up for prayer, he would pray for all those who helped him. Wherewithal means would be helping someone with the means, with the resources that were required. For example, helping him with the books, helping him with the school fee, helping him with the uniform, helping him with other resources that would help the Clarke from the Oxford to be a scholar or to be a philosopher. So he would pray for all those friends who helped him in his cause of getting education or in his cause of studying. Of study took he utmost care and heed, not one word spoke he more than was his need. He was very careful about his studies. He would always be seen as studying. He was always there into the books, and he did not talk too much. When he told us about merchant, merchant would speak pompously, but not the Clarke. He would not speak even a single word more than that was required, more than that was needed. He would speak only, limited number of words. To be very precise, he spoke little. He was not talkative. He would not keep on talking to the people, but he would keep on studying. And that was said in fullest reverence and short and quick and full of good sense. And if ever he said something, it was with great respect, great reverence. He would even respect the persons to whom he is addressing. So he would address with reverence, with respect, with courtesy. And his speech was always short and quick. Now this speaking short and quick is a scholarly characteristic. There are only few people, who have this habit of, saying things in few words. What we call in English is aphorism. If you will read Francis Bacon, you will understand this term aphorism, wherein a person says or communicates his message by utilizing minimum number of words. So he was also short and quick because he was a philosopher, and he would always speak in good sense. He would not keep talking nonsense. No. Pregnant of moral virtues was his speech, and gladly would he learn and gladly teach. Pregnant of moral virtues was his speech. When he spoke, flowers came out of his lips, we would say. He always spoke morally good. He always spoke great. Now he is the second character after the Knight about whom Geoffrey Chaucer is saying that he spoke good. Remember, in the description of the character of Knight, Geoffrey Chaucer said that till now he had said no vileness. He had said no, abusive word, any bad thing, whom the Knight. The other thing for whom he says the similar thing is the Clarke from the Oxford. He always speaks things of virtue, of morals, and gladly would he learn and gladly teach. He loved to study, so he studied gladly, with happiness. Studying books brought him pleasure, brought him happiness, and once he had learned the knowledge, he would teach, he would spread that. That was the portrait of the Clarke from the Oxford. Now again, what we get from this portrait is that there is no irony, there is no satire, there is much more realism in his portrait. But again, we must be very appreciative of the efforts of Geoffrey Chaucer if we believe with what he told us at the beginning of the prologue, that I would tell you about these characters as they appeared to me. Now somehow Geoffrey Chaucer made out that in the bedroom of the scholar there were 20 books, because he was not carrying those 20 books with him, but the imagination of Geoffrey Chaucer told him that he was having 20 books at his bedroom. Or for that matter, if Geoffrey Chaucer was bringing to us the portrait of a scholar, he must have imagined a person who has to be a philosopher, who has to be a scholar, must have 20 books on his bedside. That was the portrait of the Clarke. That is all we have in this lecture at your academy. We dealt with the portrait of the Clarke. You can continue watching the lectures on the prologue. You can click here on this end screen to watch the next portrait, and you can click on this end screen and this would take you to the playlist of the general prologue, where you can have all the characters, lectures on all the characters from general prologue, and you can click here to subscribe Your Academy. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to share, like, comment and subscribe on Your Academy for more interesting stuff. Keep watching Your Academy.